Welcome to the Matt Lancor Podcast, where we explore the journeys of extraordinary individuals who have overcome challenges and achieved greatness in their respective fields. In this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with my former Chicago Lions teammate, Martin Iosefo, a talented rugby player and two-time Olympian for the United States of America. Martin shares with us his story of growing up in American Samoa and how his passion for rugby led him to pursue the sport at the highest level. We also discuss the challenges he faced along the way and the struggles of balancing a rigorous training schedule with his personal life. Throughout the episode, Martin offers valuable insights into the world of professional sports and the mindset required to succeed in such a competitive environment. We hope you enjoy this inspiring conversation with Martin and gain valuable takeaways that you can apply to your own life. Before we jump into the episode, enjoy some colorful commentary from my favorite highlight of Martin on the world stage. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch this outstanding video highlight of Martin bamboozling the Australian national team.
Cover up well here, the Aussies as the USA explode away. Isn't another five coming for the US of A? It's Iosefo. Iosefo skins him. It's a three-card trick from Martin Iosefo in Vegas.
Firstly, the fitness. You're able to read a line. He jumps over the ruck of the Australians. And then the bit of footwork to finish is absolutely brilliant. The hurdle, he comes across, he knows he hasn't got the angle. She's going to do this, you know what? I'm going to do a bit of that. See you later, champ. I'm done. I'm going to get 5 points. Brilliant.
Welcome to the show. Again, we're here to kind of talk about the hero's journey or a spiritual journey that, we all kind of go through as humans, but in the context of athletes and small business owners and entrepreneurs and their relation to kind of the microbiome in our gut and some of our kind of intuitive abilities that we tap into as we go on these journeys. I was doing a little bit of reading about you, and you were a walk-on football player. What was that transition like from, did it start with football? Did you play rugby before you wanted to play football, or kind of walk me through what that transition was like for you?
Yeah, so I was born in Hawaii, first off. I'll backtrack a little bit. Born in Hawaii, and both parents are Samoan. Dad decided to take me and my oldest, one before me, back to Samoa to get brought up in the Samoan culture. And that's where I picked up rugby because it's a national sport there. Mm-hmm. So that was my first sport, rugby. Dad, brother, dad's friends were all, playing touch almost every day. They play touch rugby and then full-on games on the weekends, just like how we do here in the US. So I was around rugby a lot, played it till I was a freshman in high school, and then Dad decided to bring us back to Hawaii, and that's where I picked up football because it was the closest thing to rugby at the time. And where I went to high school, rugby wasn't as big as it was in Samoa. So I picked up rugby my freshman year of high school and got pretty good at it, and got a scholarship to Montana. And, that's where, Montana came through, and I moved up to Montana and continued to pursue, football in school, while also realized that there was a rugby men's club out there. So, went out there and played as well while I was in, University of Montana.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. That's quite the journey. So rugby was always there. It was kind of almost as long as you can remember. It was always there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's when I was a little kid.
Now, what do you, in the context of, we were talking about the hero's journey or some of the spiritual aspects of life. as far as you can remember, was there ever a time where you felt like you were going into the unknown, or you were going into kind of a transition in your life? Was that already kind of started when you went from Hawaii back to Samoa? Do you remember that being like a kind of drastic transition in your life?
I remember how tough it was for me, because moving from Samoa back to Hawaii, I always thought that I was born in Samoa, in a sense, because I grew up and I know I was around family all the time, and being removed from that environment to where I know no one completely. It was, it was a challenge for me, because it was just me and my brother. My parents had to stay back because they had work there and everything, but they sent us back to Hawaii to live with family members, but which we didn't really know at the time. We heard of them, but we've never really met or spent time with these family, my dad's side of the family. So it was a tough time for me and my brother. It was like maybe 3 years that we were away from our parents, and we were just living with aunt and uncles that we barely knew at the time. But we actually, we grew, we got closer to them, and like we're very thankful for them for taking us in, because without them, we wouldn't really have these opportunities that we been able to experience now. So I would have been still in Samoa at the time, like now, if it wasn't for them. Really, it was just like a stepping stone to Montana. If I didn't come to Hawaii, and I wouldn't be able to get looked at from the USA rugby team if I didn't move away from Samoa, from the islands. So it was tough at the time, because I didn't really see all that. My parents did. They knew there was like a lot of opportunities for us here in the States. And as a kid moving away from the islands, knowing what I'd only known at the time, it was tough. But now, looking back at it now, I'm very thankful that my parents gave me that opportunity to make my own decision and just not settle for what was there in the island at the time.
Yeah. Wow. So there's almost an element of, you were thrust into the unknown almost without kind of knowing it. You were set out to another island, literally,
right,
out of your comfort zone, and had to learn. Is this an older brother or younger brother that you were with?
Older brother. I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Yeah. So he like helped me a lot. He was, like everything to me. He looked after me. He just kind of, did everything for me so that I'm in, like taken care of, and trying to be protective over older brother, because it was just the two of us at the time.
Yeah. So he was kind of like, would you say he was one of your greatest mentors, or did you guys have other sports coaches or people who kind of came in and helped you smooth out that transition?
Oh, absolutely. He still is. And I mean, like along the way, I've had some great mentors, like football coaches, some rugby coaches and teammates that I've also looked at as like, guys that helped me along the way. But it's always been my older brother that's been there, and he still has to this day. And he took a big role in our lives, because dad wasn't always there, but he like stayed in communication with us from Samoa. And we knew that, he saw something bigger for us than we did, but like he made sure that our relationship and that line of communication between dad, mom, and the two of us was still, strong while we were miles and miles away.
Yeah, no, those threads are so important. And it sounds like your brother was a real foundation, or he was kind of a rock for you, kind of in those moments.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like he's done a lot, and I can't thank him enough for it, because he sacrificed some, maybe majority of his life decision because he wanted to make sure that I've been looked after and taken care of.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the power of family, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where like a lot of my, where I find a lot of my values and morals, and then I try to implement that towards, like people that I meet along the way, and along with teammates that I've been around, just try to show that same type of like support to everyone because of what I've been, blessed with this whole time. And, I know that a lot of people could use some of that too.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I'm the oldest of 4 brothers, and I know that energy goes around. I'm already seeing it. When we were younger, I did a lot of taking care of some of my younger brothers, and that energy comes back around. And to now see my younger brothers kind of get their legs under them, and they're becoming a man in the world, and knowing that they're going to spread that good energy around is just so beautiful to think about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I know I've met I don't know your other brothers as well as I know you, but like I remember they were always around. They played, one of your brothers played with us on the Chicago Lions, and he was always like, I could just tell because I was in his shoes a few times where I've always looked up, like, to the oldest and like to the older group of guys, just kind of like try to observe all like the information I can. And I saw that same look from him because, he just wanted so bad to be a part of what we were sharing on the field all the time. And I know like he didn't get it. He wasn't having as much playing experience as we did, but like you can just tell how eager he was. And I had that, that early on. I was lucky with my dad in Samoa because I was just a little kid hanging out with, men playing rugby because I just wanted to like understand why are they so like, like so bonded together. So
yeah, well, it certainly makes sense seeing you play rugby now that it was instilled very early on, huh?
Yeah, still love it though.
Yeah, it's a gift that keeps on giving. I find that the longer I play, I feel like I've gone through different phases of rugby. And at first it was kind of like just running around with a chicken with my head cut off kind of feeling in the beginning. And then you start to understand the game a little bit. And then you start maybe seeing things or patterns before they happen. You start to be able to see probabilities. And then you start to be able to teach other people how to read these probabilities, and you can raise the people around you. And it's really a beautiful game, when you think about all the different elements and levels of play that come into it. And one of the reasons that I actually switched from wrestling and American football into rugby was because a lot of those elements of American football are elements of wrestling and grappling and contact sports that I liked were all kind of smashed together, into one big group community. But, it brings me back to kind of walk me through this transition from, again, football and getting into rugby and playing with the men's team out in Montana. Was this kind of did somebody see you and pull you out to a training, or did you seek it out yourself? What was that kind of like?
It was actually one of my bestest friends, right? Like now, like at the time he was just I don't know how we met. It was just like a random guy that we met downtown Montana in Missoula. And he's a Samoan kid. So like in the place like Montana, you don't really see another Samoan or Polynesian guy, often. So, he can be spotted around like across the town, and everyone like knows like every other Samoan in town. And he, we met up, and he told me there's a rugby team downtown. He asked me to come out. His name is Tupa. I don't know if you've heard of him, Tupa Fia. He plays for the Maggots men's team out in Missoula. But you might know him if you've seen him. But he's like biggest dude on the team, but like the teddy bear of the team, like one of those dudes, just like like loves the game, but like doesn't enjoy it in contact. Or he just like loves it for the social aspect of the game. You know, he loves being around like good people, and you know, just like you said, you just like love spreading that good energy. So he got me out there, and I just fell in love after the first training. You know, I just kept going like 2-3 times a week, and then sneaking out and playing on the weekends when I wasn't supposed to because of football.
I was gonna say, did your football coach know about any of this?
No one did. I was just like going out like during the off season and just playing rugby because like that's what I fell in love with early on, and I just couldn't help myself but like, you know, just wanted to be around rugby and be around people that knew about rugby. Just like the community alone, what I brought in, that's just reminded me so much of home, and just couldn't stay away. So that was just like my crowd. And it wasn't just like I was closed off about anything else. It was just like, that's what I know, that's what I enjoy doing. And I invited everyone else along with it. And, you know, just part of the game, you share what you loved and you welcome everyone. So that's why I love, like, again, that's why I love so much about rugby.
Yeah, no, it truly brings together a unique crowd of people. I mean, I distinctly remember the differences between, you know, football games in high school. You would just get on the bus and go home. But the rugby games in high school, we always had a meal. We would prepare a meal and share it with the other away team and have a conversation with your opposite number. I mean, there was none of that when Plainfield Central played Plainfield North. I mean, we spilled blood on the field and then we left. You know, there was no like shaking of the hands or it was just a very different culture that I really liked. And I've only met, you know, some of the best people, some of my best friends in the world have all come through the rugby community.
Yeah. No, and again, like I have to agree with that, and not to like to say anything bad about football, because like I also enjoy football. Like it gave me a different life lessons. But you know, I don't think one is better than the other. I just know that like it's just a whole nother experience for you that everyone needs to, you know, maybe have a look at it and try it itself, because it's not for everyone. But it's just also that it's just compare the two. It's just like, you know, like you said, football is more of like within your little cliques, you know, like your wide receivers, your DBs, your D linemen. So like that's just how the football community works. And you know, that's fine. Like I enjoyed that as like that concept as well. But what's fitting for me is just like I like to get to know everyone on the team and trying to develop some kind of connection with everyone.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. I loved both for their individual aspects. I was a running back and a slot receiver. And so I got to participate in a lot of the glory, you know, but and I had to give grace and build those relationships up with my offensive linemen and my quarterback. And there was that element of football that was there, but it was still like, you're in your lane, stay in your lane, and, you know, do your job and we'll win. And rugby has some of those elements, but there is this creativity and free flow of rugby that just, it tore my socks off, man. I was hooked from the first game. I mean, it was, I knew I was going to play this sport for the rest of my life as soon as I played.
Yeah, no, and both sport teaches you like different things in life. And that's why, like, you know, builds that individual confidence from football. Rugby just gives you much more, like you said, unique creativity too, because you feel like that much more of a responsibility to bring everyone together rather than like focusing just on your individual role to bring everyone together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And it makes me think of one of the other things that really struck me was in football, there was a coach primarily calling the play every time. Whereas in rugby, we were sort of, maybe we had a pattern or maybe we had a play to start the game or something, but there was this empowerment to make your own decisions. And the coaches would try to put you in a position to succeed and then give you the ability to make the call when it was time to make the call. That was one of the big things that struck me when I first started playing rugby.
Yeah. No, it's fun. You just get to express yourself. You're given the tools that you've been practicing all week, and it's just on you and the team collectively to make those decisions on the fly. And this is the hardest, but the most beautiful thing at the same time, because you can all pull it off together, or, just mess it up and try to figure it out at the same time. It's just, it's just backyard football where you're like, let's just get something out of nothing. And if it doesn't work, just stick with it and just enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's a great lesson, I think, from it. So from the sounds of it, Marty, you've had several of these kind of hero's journey cycles. You had one as a kid moving between the islands. You had this transition from rugby into football back to rugby. What are some of the challenges or the temptations, or what are some of the struggles that you had in making some of those transitions? And, maybe for some of our listeners or people who are going through some of those transitions and maybe having some troubles too, what kind of advice would you give to them?
You get caught up with all like the trainings and the travel and all the competition. You forget to make more meaningful relationship with everyone along the way, because you're such on the structured schedule, like especially like at a professional level. Sometimes you get lost because it's more of a business, become more of a business rather than like what you like, why you got involved in the game. You tend to forget that. You get left at the end because it's like a lot of extensive things get involved. Like, you're playing for your country. You're expected to perform well. Like these, standards start getting along the way, and it either builds pressure and just kind of like pulls you away from you, like who you are and why you play the sport. So those little things, like those are the little challenges, and like things like being away, you're sacrificing a lot, and you forget to have that life balance. You forget to kind of manage that, because you tend to burn out, and you forget to to go back to like families and spend times with them, because you're always on the road, and you feel alone sometimes. So those are some of the challenges when you transition to like a professional, as a professional rugby player. And I like for me, like I'm blessed to have like a family that always reach out to check up on me and make sure that I'm doing okay while everything is going on. So it just keeps me grounded, and make sure that I'm not letting the competition define who I am, but like make sure that I'm doing it for the right reasons, and that most importantly developing like meaningful relationship and enjoying it.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's powerful, Marty, because I think, what I'm hearing is just making sure you're enjoying the process as much as you're enjoying whatever that end goal is. Because even hearing you talk about it, I'm reflecting on my own journey in entrepreneurship, and how sometimes you think that you're trying to get to this end goal, and there's this thought that that's the only thing that matters. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the relationships that you built along the way, and the experiences that you had, and how much gratitude and appreciation were you able to cultivate kind of along that journey. That's a really powerful lesson. And I think hearing it from you also helps understand that, there's a human being behind that jersey also. It's not just a machine. It's not a USA Eagle robot that's out there to just do a job,
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that would be my only advice. No matter what it is that you are putting yourself through life, to take up most of your time, always remember to why you're doing it and develop meaningful relationship, and then try to find joy in it, whether it's doing the most mundane thing or just, like you said, help each other out along the way so that everyone's doing what they're enjoying doing together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, do you find yourself, throughout your years going from being a young eagle, into a maturing eagle, did you find yourself like getting some of these lessons from some of the older players? Did you find yourself then passing on some of these lessons, or where do you say some of this wisdom kind of came into being for yourself?
Oh, I would say a little bit of everything, like from like being from competing myself, like learning a lot from myself throughout the years, and older players, and especially the younger guys coming after me, just like seeing some of the things that they're doing. It's kind of like exactly whether it's exactly the same thing I've done or like something new or like something different. So like, just for me, it's just managing like how to communicate with everyone that comes through that I play with, whether younger or older player. It's just, like I said, all it is like just developing that relationship. It's just find that little thing that connects you both and just build from there, so that you both have a common goal, and it's not about just achieving the goal. It's just how to get there together with, like just clear heads and enjoying the process. Like you said, like the goals is the outcome that we're all looking for, which is winning the rugby game. But how to get there is so much more meaningful than just achieving that goal. Because you don't know if you're going to achieve that goal or not. But if you're doing everything that older player, the younger player, that needs to get done to get to that goal, whatever the result is, that you've gotten so much more out of that journey, right, from winning or losing that, or from achieving that goal or not.
Yeah, no, that's almost even a great analogy for life, in the sense of, you can get rich quick. There's some people that get lucky and get rich quick, but then there's some people that make a goal and maybe they don't get it, but they've got 50% of the way there. Then they make another goal and then maybe they get 75% of the way there. And they're building this process that over time they can replicate, versus trying to just rely on the one hit wonder or rely on the bounce of a ball to win a rugby game. You're building this, process and building these procedures that you can continue to kind of build off of.
Yeah. Because like when I first came in to the Eagles, US Eagles, I was like very competitive. It's just like, we gotta win, we gotta do this and this, that we were told. And if we're not performing, then like we need to fix something right away to get back on winning. That was my mindset early on as a USA rugby player. And there's some good in that, but there's this like blockage for other players to get better. Like I wasn't helping them because how I was communicating wasn't effective for them. And later on in my career, I realized that how I was, interacting with these other players wasn't motivating them at all. It wasn't just me just pushing and doing the work, like showing them how to do it. It's finding those little niche that get them going and continue to bring them on the, to go on the journey with them until they like instill that trust in you. Then you can start giving a little bit of like what works for you, the energy that I had early on as a younger Eagle, and just managing the two, so that like what works for me shares with the other player, and then what works for them, you make sure you take that in and incorporate back to them, so that they understand that you're both working towards the same goal. It's just you're doing it very differently, but we're finding a common ground to work it out.
Yeah, no, that's a huge lesson that I feel like was a hard one to learn for me too, was that just because I was motivated doesn't mean everybody else is going to be motivated by the same thing that I was in the rugby sense. And I mean, from a coaching perspective, what kind of advice do you have for people who are looking to maybe build those relationships either in a business with their coworkers or on a team sport with some of their team members? I mean, you talk about finding that gap or finding that gap you can bridge, but how do you practically do that? I mean, give me an example of maybe a time that you've done that with a player or a coworker.
Yeah, there's so many that you could use, but like what's been working well for me is this, especially because like I'm starting to coach a bit more now, is that I always assume that someone has something that you don't know all about. Like I always assume that there's something that they know that you haven't heard of, or give them the time of the day. Like don't listen to just respond, listen to understand. I've started to coach, like being in different levels of rugby now, and just from the younger age, no matter what level you're in, to the most elite athlete, like you learn, there's so many that you learn from different levels. So the things that you learn from the youngest group, like your 3-year-olds just playing flag rugby, or the Olympians, to the World Cup rugby players, like you learn, there's so many different lessons that you can pick up from them. So like you always have like just like give someone a time of day. I always assume that someone knows something that you don't.
Yeah.
And
just like stay curious, like look for, I believe that too. I have an uncle who always told me, he's like, you never know who you're going to end up working for. It could be the janitor. It could be whoever. He's like, you have to be nice to everybody, because everybody has something to share. Everybody has a gift to bring to the world, and you may not be able to see it from the outset, but if you sort of look for it, or you cultivate that sense of openness, it'll tend to reveal itself over time.
Yeah, and that's that's built from rugby. Like that's how we express it. Like, you get to do almost everything that you can do on a rugby field that some sport don't get to do. Like you're if that's why rugby's so unique. You're just out there running with a rugby ball, tackling, passing, kicking, rucking, all those things. Like it's just a combination of all different sports in one. And that, I think that's the same thing that could apply to life. You just allow yourself to be open to everything, and just make your own better judgment out of it. Just don't try to like assume, or listen to, like I said, listen to respond, listen to understand.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great lesson. I think to start wrapping this up with too, is just to be curious, be open. Sometimes the call to adventure is there, but if you're not listening, you're not going to hear it. And Martin, it sounds like you've had several calls to adventure. You've answered all of them from what I can tell. And I'm sure there's more adventures coming in the future here for you. But I mean, what's next? I mean, you're a new dad, so obviously you've got a lot of family planning and time like that to spend over the next, couple of years here. But are we going to see you still playing out with Seattle, or what does the rest of the rugby career look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm still competing with Seattle this year. We'll see how things goes at the end of this season. Maybe I'll still play a bit more 15s. I am, looking to compete in this next World Cup. So the one in Paris. So hopefully all goes well. I'll still be playing 15s for the next couple of years leading up to that. But then we'll see what happens after. But no promises.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're really enjoying some of the coaching experience that you're getting to it. Is that kind of a natural transition for you, or do you have other kind of entrepreneurial kind of ventures that you've been thinking about?
Yeah, no, I enjoy coaching here and there because, like, just like wanting to pass some of the knowledge that I've gained along the way of playing and just share like the life lessons of rugby. And I know everyone would love it, and like any opportunity that I get to coach, it's a blessings for me. And other things that I've started to look outside of rugby, it's through, it's happening as well, but I'm not trying to focus too much on it, just trying to take one thing at a time.
Yep. No, I think laser focus is important, and you're clearly a talented, hardworking man, and I'm sure plenty of opportunities will make themselves available to you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Well, Marty, thanks for joining the show. USA Eagle number 500. Is that right?
Yeah.
We got the number. It's been a pleasure to get to know you over the years. Again, many blessings for your wife and the new baby. We'll be watching you finish out the MLR season here as a fan, and maybe we'll get you on season 2 and get a catch up here in the next year or so.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me, and look out for the other kombucha stuff.
Yeah, no, we'll maybe we'll get a little bit on your experience with the kombucha the next time we chat. But it was good to catch up with you, hear a little bit about your backstory, and just share some of the wisdoms and some of the lesson that younger rugby players or younger males are looking for, kind of role models and people to look up to. And you're certainly somebody that I've looked up to in certain aspects as well. So thank you for that over the years here, Marty.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Matt Lancor Podcast, where we strive to bring you inspiring conversations with exceptional people from all walks of life. In this episode, we had the pleasure of chatting with USA Rugby player and 2-time Olympian, Martin Iosefo. We hope you enjoyed hearing about Martin's journey, his experiences representing his country at the highest level, and the lessons he's learned along the way. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And as always, thanks for listening.